Well, hello, everybody. Good evening, and it's really nice actually to be back live in front of the camera once again. It does feel like it's been quite some time now. I'm delighted to say we've got a very special guest joining us very shortly indeed. And now, of course, most of you might know us for our motorsport exploits. However, there's more than just motorsport that we do, as we're going to explain very, very shortly. I've got a little video to reveal exactly what is going to be coming up this evening. Now, here's our special guest, Nigel. Nigel, do I have a bit of an echo, or can you hear me okay?
I think you sound great. Yeah, no problems here.
I sound great. Thank you very much. Now, this is, of course, our very special guest, Nigel Pond from Carver Electric UK. Now, we're delighted to say that Carver Electric has landed in the UK. How exciting is this, Nigel? You're excited. I can see that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I've been waiting for the Carver to come over to the UK since the original Carver one back in the early 2000s. So yeah, it's a good time.
Now, for those people who are a little bit unfamiliar with Carver, they're not a new company, are they, Nigel? They actually date back all the way to 1994, when the original Carver one, it was a petrol engine actually back then, wasn't it? And it featured on Top Gear as well, didn't it? I believe actually. It was Toyota, wasn't it, who provided the engines back then, but stops them.
Yeah. So when the company first started up, they spun out of the engineering side to launch the Carver One, and they had this agreement with the engine manufacturer, and they got so many orders after the Top Gear and other publicity that engine manufacturer started to see them as competition. So held engines back. So they had to go and find another engine manufacturer, but unfortunately they couldn't before they went bankrupt. So they've now re-emerged. It's a completely new company, and they're reimagining the Carver as very much as a city vehicle. It's a city car.
Yeah, they certainly are, aren't they? And actually, after moving away from petrol into the electric side, I think we started about 2017, didn't I? We've now got some images actually to show, haven't we, of what is around now. So let me just show a couple of images for those people not quite familiar with what the Carver is. There's a bit of a clue, isn't there, just beneath me. I don't know if you can kind of see half of one here, but here's a little look at the Carver. Look at that, Nigel. It's three-wheel trike. Would that be right to say?
Yeah, it's a three-wheel trike. It's classed as a motorcycle for license purposes. I think I've actually driven that very Carver. That's obviously one of the press photos from Carver in the Netherlands, but that was one of the original ones they had on the test drive. So I think that was probably the first one I drove. Yeah.
Now I've got another picture of the inside, and I can guarantee this isn't you, though. This definitely is not you.
way too attractive. But she is actually a Carver employee, I believe. Yeah. So you can see there that it puts a smile on your face when you're driving it. It's very simple to drive. As you can see there, we've got a steering wheel. The windows have been removed here, which you can do very easily, and drop the top as well. So you can enjoy the summer weather, but get protection during the winter.
Yeah, you certainly can. And actually, just talking of that image and looking at it, I have had the pleasure, haven't I, of going in your car. You've taken me for a little spin in it, and you can fit two people quite comfortably in there, can't you?
Yeah, absolutely. You can tell from the fully charged video that they put out a couple of months ago. Jack, the main presenter, he's actually 6'5", so he got in the front of the Carver no problem at all. I think he was a little bit squashed in the back, but he still managed to get in there when Robert Llewellyn was driving. So yeah, you can take two up comfortably.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I want to talk about you and your relationship with Carver Electric. How did you get involved with it, Nigel?
So when I first heard about I'd actually decided to build myself an electric trike. I've got a friend of mine who's a mechanic, so he could do all the heavy lifting for me, and I come from an IT background, so I really wanted to build something. that was my answer to the Carver One. It wasn't ever going to be as sophisticated, but I started grabbing all these pictures and all these ideas together and all these little bits of technology that I wanted to use, looking at motors and controllers and battery packs and all these things. And as I'm doing my research, I just stumbled upon the Carver Earth website, the Carver Europe website. And I was blown away. I was like, oh my gosh, this is the real thing. It's come back. I was just like absolutely blown away. So literally after a few days of thinking it through, I put my deposit down. And very quickly they came back to me and said, we're really sorry, but we don't ship to the UK yet. We're doing a very cautious rollout across the Netherlands just to see how things are.
Yeah.
And I said, I don't care. I'm going to have one. I'm going to import it into the country myself. And it took a good while. I think it probably took nearly a year to get it over. I was invited over to the Netherlands to do some test drives. So I took my wife out for a weekend in Amsterdam. And we were very lucky enough to be the first customers to test drive the new Carver Earth, the new Carver Electric. So from that point onwards, it was just a waiting game until I get my hands on it, sorting out the shipping, sorting out all of the paperwork, import duty, all these things, which obviously Carver Electric UK can now do for you. You don't have to jump through those hoops that I did. So when I eventually got it into the UK, it wasn't long before I had a few phone calls. First was from a chap in the Netherlands. He said, look, my colleague's in the UK, and he's really interested in the Carver. We're thinking about buying one for our business. I said, yeah, you come along and have a test drive, no problem at all. And that's when I met William King,
yeah,
the CEO of Carver Electric UK. And he brought his son along for a test drive. And they both loved it. I've got a video clip up on my YouTube channel showing them both grinning away as they're going up and down the road. And they were convinced at that point that they wanted to start it up as a business and bring Carver officially to the UK. So when William told me about this, I said, what can I do to help? You know, I've got an IT background. I can do your website for you. I can do your social media for you. And that's what I've been doing since. Yeah.
Fantastic. And of course, I got involved. We know each other actually. We go back a few years, don't we? Mainly via the gym, actually. And you drive up to the gym every day, don't you? And park it up there. And you have a little QR code on the window.
Yeah, that's it. You've got to do the publicity. Plus, it's too cold to walk to the gym now. That's my excuse.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, I've got a little picture to show everybody of Nigel here and his Carver as well, dressed as a famous person, of course. Nigel, there you are, dressed up as Santa Claus with your Carver. Green looks rather good, I have to say.
Yeah, so I got a bit bored with the grey that I ordered and decided to have it wrapped. So that green is fantastic. And just as a little bit of a backstory for this picture, I took part in the Reading Toy Run last weekend. And the idea is that you do up your motorcycle or trike and you dress up as well. And it was such an amazing event. I think there was 1,300 motorcycles of every type and shape. I thought mine was going to be the weirdest thing there, but there was actually a 3-wheel boat. So that was bright orange. That took the prize for the weirdest thing there. And yeah, it was just an amazing event, all for good causes and everything as well. And I posted a video actually on YouTube, and you can hear as I go past all these little kids whooping, ooh, ooh, and hollering, what's that? What's that? What one of those? So, which is a very typical response to the Carver. Yeah, so it was a great day.
Well, I remember the time you invited me over. We parked it up in town, didn't we? And literally, we were just there 5 minutes, and the amount of people were taking pictures and talking to you about it. It really is quite unique, isn't it? In fact, it has quite a strong amount of technology as well. The dynamic vehicle control system is something that obviously Carver have developed significantly, and that gives the trike a tilt, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So it's been completely reimagined, but the underlying patent technology is still the same. So in the original Carver One, it was a hydraulic mechanism, but now you literally have a motor that is fully engaged all of the time that controls your tilt. So at no point are you going to fall over. because that motor is always engaged. And I think that it's a bit difficult to see from still images. People look at it and they say, oh, that looks a little bit dangerous. You know, it's a narrow vehicle, will it tip over? And the idea came from Chris Vandenbrink, who was a snowboarder. And he wanted to build a narrow vehicle. He saw all these huge, great vehicles with just one person in them. And he wanted to build a nice city vehicle that was narrow, easy to maneuver. Now, he tried a few things before realizing that, yes, this thing has to lean in order to be stable. Otherwise, it's going to fall over. So that's where he developed the DVC technology that's now evolved into this virtually solid state technology that controls that motor and the tilt as you're driving. So it's very much driven on the amount of input that you put into the steering wheel. Yeah. So if you aggressively turn in, you'll tilt more into the turning as well. But if you're just gently putting input into the steering wheel, a very gentle turn. So there's lots of control, and you're normally used to it within 5 minutes.
Well, I'm pleased to say you said that it's very difficult to gauge that and visualize it from stills. But fortunately, we do have a little video to play now as well. And of course, we all know the track Zandvoort over in Holland, of course. And we can show you a little video now of a Carver Electric on Zandvoort. And we can get a real good look at how it tilts here. Sit back and watch this. Yeah, there you go. That's a great example, isn't it? It really kind of shows it. And the camera behind the driver there really just goes to show. And you can really put some lean on it too. That was the Carver S Plus, wasn't it, Nigel? Because there are a few. Talk us through what's actually in the Carver range and what's coming up.
Okay, so the Carver that I have, the one that was bought out at launch, is the Carver base model. It's limited to 30 miles an hour, very much aimed at a younger audience. So we're talking 16-year-olds, 14 in Europe can drive it. But I think we're looking at 16-year-olds with their provisional plus CBT should be able to drive one of those base models in the UK. So that, yeah, 30 miles an hour. It has two kilowatt motors in the rear wheels to drive it. So what we just saw on the screen there, oh, I missed out. There's a couple of styling options as well. So you'll hear Sport, the Carver Sport, which is very much a styling. It's got some accent features, different color wheels. It's got a red seat belt, things like this. So mostly style things. And you've got some driving modes as well. So you have comfort, sport, and normal, which enable you to choose how aggressively the Carver will lean into corners. So that's basically all of the base models. But what we've just seen in that video is the S Plus, which has 2 3 kilowatt motors and a top speed of 50 miles an hour, and comes with a whole range of improvements as well. One of the great things about working with a startup like Carver is they're really listening to the customers, and they're modifying it and bringing out new enhancements all the time. So the Carver S Plus specifically, you can order with LED lights, aircon. It comes with new windows that have an opening slot like in racing cars, so you can more easily reach out to those ticket machines and adjust your mirrors and things like that. And then we also have the R Plus, which is essentially the same, but it has a range of 80 miles. So when you get up to the S Plus and the R Plus, you're talking about whether you want the speed or the range. And you also have the cargo option as well to mix in there. So you can do a mix and match on all of those specifications. So if you want a Carver cargo that has 500 litres of storage for your Deliveroo or Uber Eats, you can go for the Range Plus, limited to 30 miles an hour, but you've got 80 miles of range. And then obviously the S Plus that we've just seen is very much for the commuter with the 50 mile an hour limit.
I'm not so sure, Nigel, it's actually possible to get above 30 in London anyway. So that sounds quite good.
Absolutely. You know, a lot of the time we've been taking people out for test drives around London, we're having to say, oh, sorry, can you just slow down a bit? It's a 20 limit. So, you know, yeah, with the 20 limit, it's very rare in central London that it's anything over 30. So yeah, it really isn't a problem in cities and big towns.
Yeah, definitely. Now, look, cargo. Let's talk the Carver cargo quickly, because we just touched on it there. People might not be aware of this. I've got an image to show here. Just look at that. Now, that is amazing, isn't it? In fact, am I right in thinking that Carver over in Holland have done some wrapping and done some work already? Is it with Domino's? Am I right? Am I right in saying that, or do I need to be corrected?
Yeah, no, absolutely. We've got some Domino Carver cargoes out there working now, so that's great. And I think the positive's been, you know, all the feedback's been very positive. Essentially, what you've got there, like I said, is you don't have the rear seat. You've just got that extra storage. So you can imagine somebody taking 500 litres. That's a week's worth of shopping, at least. Or, you know, sort of electrician or a plumber or something like that, you know, is fed up with having to get their big vans around the cities. They can put their tools in the back of the cargo and get to site quickly, find easier parking, not have to pay, you know, congestion charges and low emission zone fees and all those.
It's fantastic because you can park them anywhere as well, pretty much, can't you? As well as we saw with yours, we're based in Bracknell, of course, in Berkshire, and you literally just parked it up just almost on a pavement, on a bike rack. It was, wasn't it?
Yeah, where the motorcycles. I parked up in Reading a few weeks ago, and I like to kind of I went to a cafe across the road, and I like to watch people's responses to it. And you always get people hovering around it and talking to each other, which is great. But I had it parked in a motorcycle bay, and I did see one of the parking attendants pull up on his little scooter behind me, ready to write a ticket. But then I saw him on his phone, obviously looking up my registration plate, and can see that it is registered as a motorcycle. So he just packed up and left. So yeah, it's I'm sure that'll happen quite frequently before people get to know them. And one of the other benefits of Reading as well, quite a few of the bus lanes allow motorcycles as well. So having to literally cut that queue coming out of Reading, where all the traffic's built up coming out of Reading, you know, from 4 o'clock onwards, you just join the buses and go past the whole lot. It's great.
Yeah, it certainly is. I want to talk about, because they're fully electric, charging times. How do you charge it, Nigel?
Okay, so it's got standard 13 amp 3-pin plug. So mine literally goes underneath my garage door and plugs into a normal socket. And from 0 to 100% will probably take about 4.5 hours. With the S Plus, the battery chemistry is a little bit different. So they've increased or decreased that charging time to about 3 hours 45. So if you think that I get 60 miles for 4.5 hours, for those, you can get up to 80 miles for 3 hours and 45 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty good, isn't it? And it's only going to get better and better and better as things progress as well, isn't it? Look, if anybody as well, by the way, watching this, there is a link in the body of this broadcast to the Carver Electric website as well. Do give it a click, you can find out more. You can contact Nigel that way. In fact, Nigel, your email address is running across the bottom. It's that way, isn't it? There you go. It's running across the bottom. Info at carverelectric.uk.co.uk. Do go give it. Do go drop me an email. Do go visit the website as well. And now you mentioned the Santa run as well, because there's a little video to play also about that, and it was preparing your Carver too. So let's have a little look at this, shall we? Now, Nigel, we can talk over this as you're doing it, of course. A nice little bow on the front. It looks quite easy just to put some stickers and things on.
Yeah, I wish I could move that fast in reality, but no, it was absolutely bitingly cold when we were doing that. So we had coffees on the go, but I think they got cold before we had a chance to drink them. But yeah, it's just such a lot of fun to get it all prepared. You know, obviously some people didn't know about the run. I was just going through Bracknell into Wokingham, and you know, little kids were stopping and waving at me, and you know, you get people coming the opposite direction, flashing their lights and things like that and waving. So yeah, it's great. I mean, the Carver sticks out anyway. You know, people see you coming, and you know, it stands out, which is obviously great for branding as well, if that's your area. But yeah, a lot of fun.
Why should, Nigel, why should somebody get on board and get themselves a Carver?
Okay, so I see there's a hierarchy of people going green, trying to make a bit of difference, trying to reduce physical size on the road, these types of things. So, okay, so if you can walk to work, walk. If you can cycle to work, cycle. If you know you've got the last mile traveling, you can go on a scooter. But if you're traveling a little bit further than that, and you don't want to buy a second car, perhaps, then I think the Carver is for you. It's very much for those people who are, you know, possibly commuting to the station. They want something quick and easy, or, you know, like I say, it's a second car. I like motorbikes, and I've had motorbikes on and off over the years. But when I was looking to get a second vehicle, I couldn't justify having a motorbike because my wife couldn't use it. But with the Carver, she can drive it on her driving license. She doesn't need any special license, so the both of us can use it, and she enjoys driving it as well. So yeah, if you find yourself in that niche, you know, if you're living in the city, if you're commuting in a busy town, with the S Plus, we're obviously extending that distance. So if you're extra urban, but you have to commute into a busy town, like for us in Bracknell, if you're commuting into Reading, yeah, it's absolutely the perfect vehicle. You know, you're keeping warm and dry. You've got some little heaters. You've got a demist windscreen, but you can drop the lid, drop the roof if it's a sunny day. And I can use the bus lanes, like I said before, and I can park it a lot more flexibly than a car. So yeah.
Absolutely. Well said, Nigel. And what sort of, let's talk cost quickly. What sort of cost are we looking for?
Okay, so the entry level Carver is 12,000, including VAT, yeah, and then goes up to about 14,500 for the S and R Plus. I think the Cargo is a little bit more expensive, about 15,000 for the R and S Plus version of that. Yeah.
I mean, with regards to the Cargo, and certainly for businesses, if anybody watching, there's a number of positive impacts to getting the Cargo, and generally just having the Carver itself. The amount of money you save as well, not just on parking, but on fuel, etc. It kind of makes sense, doesn't it, really?
It really does. I wish I'd sent you, a friend of mine's an accountant, and he did a spreadsheet for me. And because he was just interested to know how much, if you were living in London and you bought a Carver over a regular petrol car, how much you'd save. And he actually worked out you'd be in profit from the daily charges for low emissions and congestion charge. You'd actually be in profit. You'd actually be making money over owning a normal car. So
yeah, that's insane. It pays for itself. Literally.
If anybody wants me to share that spreadsheet, they can go. Yeah, the numbers kind of baffle me, but yeah, it's quite incredible, you know. And it's not just about the impact on your pocket. You're doing something positive as well. Like I say, you're going to an electric vehicle, and you're reducing your physical footprint on the road as well. That's one of my bugbears as well. You know, living in extra urban place like Bracknell or in Reading, or any busy town. There's never enough parking on people's driveways, and everybody's parking either half on the curb, half in the road. Now I can park next to the curb and still be taking up less space than a car, so I'm not impacting any people using the footpath as well.
Yeah, well, look, we've had a conversation before, haven't we? The size of cars these days, they're absolutely huge. And I mean, go down any street in any town, not just where we are, and it can be a nightmare. Kind of, certainly if there's on-street parking, it really is an absolute nightmare. Right, now, Nigel, we're going to play a little game, you and I, very quickly. It's called Spot the Carver. I've got a little image to show, and so you can play along at home as well. First person to do comment below. As soon as you see it, type in "seen it." That's what you've got to do. You ready? Here we go. I'll show the image. You probably already know this, actually, Nigel, but here we go. 3, 2, 1. Here's the image. Spot the Carver. Who can see it? Who's got it? There you go. I've got it. There's the man sort of half in, half out of Smith and Hunter there. Because actually, the Carver cars, they're in a few showrooms knocking around, aren't they? So if anybody does want to see one up close and personal, I'm sure, Nigel, you'll be happy to certainly if they're local and prepared to come around, show your Carver off to them. And do get in touch, info@carverelectric.co.uk, if you want to have that information shared about the financial savings, and of course maybe potentially want to book a test drive. Do get in touch with this man here, Nigel Pond. Nigel, thank you so much for joining us this evening. It's been a real pleasure. We're going to do a few more as well over the next few months. A lot to take in, and a lot of information coming on from Carver Electric. As I said before, there is a link in the body of this broadcast to the Carver Electric website. Do go and give it a click. It's up above us right now, so do go and give it a click and find out all the information you want and get in touch. Nigel's the best person to speak to. He knows everything, literally everything about Carver Electric. Nigel, will I see you down the gym tomorrow in the Carver?
Yeah, probably.
Probably. No, thanks so much, Nigel. Really appreciate that. It's been an absolute pleasure. Like I said, we will be back with more Carver coming up very soon. Thanks for watching.